managing editor news for Getty. Flew all the way in from New York on the Memorial Day weekend. And from Washington, representing AFP, Marisha Goldhammer, senior editor for web and social media for North America. So welcome, panel. So it would be an understatement to say that the news industry has gone through an immense upheaval in the last decade with declining revenues, layoffs on the legacy side, and transition to mobile audiences. And I'm sure this has also affected all of your business models. So Malcolm, I wanted to ask you first, how has the Canadian press adapted to the changing marketplace, and what sort of new innovations and services can we expect from the Canadian press?
Well, thanks very much, George, and pleasure to be here with everybody this afternoon. Well, as you say, I mean, I think there is a tremendous amount of disruption that's taking place within the media landscape in this country and worldwide. And agencies, we think of ourselves as news agencies, I think, more so than wire services, I suppose, are definitely adapting to those things. Every product that we create is more or less a digital-first product these days, not surprisingly. So every piece of content that we create has to be, effectively usable on any kind of platform, really getting the most value out of everything we can create, because as we all know, the resources to create that journalism are more precious than ever. As organizations, all of us, I think, put our journalism first. Organizations like ours, knowing that there is always a fair amount of pressure on what companies can pay for news content these days. And I will tell you that our business is actually quite stable for the most part when it comes to the licensing of news. And I think that's because we have managed to really maintain a commitment to news coverage in this country, in both English and French. I wouldn't say there isn't some erosion there, but it's relatively stable in many respects. But to supplement that, well, I think we've had to look at other kinds of services, for example, be they bespoke editing services for text, for video. We will help people manage their websites these days, all in white-labeled environments. We'll even sell you a mobile application if that's something that you're after. So we're looking for other kinds of revenue that support the core mission of the agency, which is obviously the news. And I think the other big thing that's really important to us, just as it's important, I think, to every news organization now, is analytics. We're bringing analytics into the business. And I think for news agencies where we typically don't host that content, it's on our client site, so it's on Global News or CTV or the Toronto Star, actually having access to the data that allows us to understand how the content performs, that's something that is going to become increasingly vital to us so that we can make the right kinds of editorial decisions. So bringing analytical knowledge into the business is going to be a huge part of our future.
So I want to get into analytics a little bit later, just to get into how does that determine decisions made on an editorial level. But Katrina, same question to you. Mm-hmm. How has Reuters innovated? I know they're a worldwide organization and based in many countries around the world. So how is Reuters adapting to the demands, not just of the audience, but also of your clients, your key clients?
Sure, yeah. Around a year ago, we launched Reuters Connect, which is our new platform. And really, it was to address the changes in the marketplace and what we're seeing. So we had our editorial teams, our product teams travel around the world, meet with different clients, and actually figure out, what do you need, what are you seeing, and what can we implement into this new platform? So we launched Reuters Connect a year ago, and there's 3 really big changes that we've implemented that we really feel help editorial teams streamline their workflows. So the first one is now Reuters Connect hosts all of our content under one platform. So there's 14 million pieces of content living there right now. That includes around 1 million video clips dating back to 1896. There's between 13 and 14 million pictures dating back to the early 1990s. We have breaking news content from our breaking pictures, breaking videos. We have our interactive graphics, our still graphics. And then we also brought on partner content, which I think is really, really unique as well. So clients can not only leverage Reuters, but they can also leverage top media brands like the BBC, Hollywood TV, Variety, USA Today Sports, Next Media Animations for really great animations. So with all of that content, we wanted to make it very easy and simple for editorial teams to find the content that they're looking for. So we created new features, new functionalities, discoverability tools, like a filter that you can get really granular in your search, so you can search by just content types or focuses, regions, languages, a specific time frame. and really sort through that 14 million pieces of assets to find something very specific. We've also integrated within Reuters Connect our multimedia planning calendar. So you can see all the coverage that we're doing in the coming days ahead. And again, you can filter through it in real time. So you can just find, let's say, our political coverage in North America that's text related, or all of our live video coverage that we're going to be doing in Europe, for example. The other integration that we've done with Reuters Connect is we brought on our new live service. So just last October, we launched our new lives, and we now provide clients with the ability to live stream up to 6 events at the same time. And with Reuters Connect, we've made it incredibly easy to use those feeds, whether on your website, social, or in your programming. And then the last major change that we made with Reuters Connect is a new commercial model. So we've launched Points, and what Points allows editorial teams to do is subscribe to a subset of points. They have a quarterly allocation, so you're not stuck to month. You know, news is not linear, so some months you're going to need more content, some months you may need a little bit less. And you can use those points on any of our multimedia content, any of our videos, any of our pictures, any of our graphics, any of our UGC content, and not only on Reuters content, but on partner content as well. So we really find that this is helping maximize editorials' budget and ROI, because you're not confined to a singular content type or content feed or even partner anymore. You can use your points on anything.
Great, thank you. Pierce, I mean, you've been managing editor at Getty for a few years now.
Yep.
So what has changed for you and for Getty?
Well, I agree with Malcolm in that the editorial space is it's relatively stable right now from where I sit at Getty. The disruption in the last couple of years in the industry, and specifically in the last 18 months with the current White House administration, people are paying more attention to news, and they want to know and they want their news from trusted sources. It's been a theme over the morning here and the afternoon on every single panel, and it's the theme of the conference, the truth. So at Getty, we provide that to our clients and also to consumers in mass. Touching on the analytics, we've done some analytics over the years, and we found that a lot of people were coming to our non-business clients, were coming to our website just looking at pictures, and they weren't buying anything. So we made a consumer website, photo.gettyimages.com, where it's our platform. A lot of talk about platforms here, obviously, and we try to be on as many as possible. But like the last panel said, you got to use it as a marketing tool. So we try to spread out our coverage through that. And as newspapers, ad revenue has left and staffing is down, newspapers look to wire services to save money and to fill in content gaps where they don't have coverage. So.
I wish it was as good for us in the industry side. Marisha, you look after social. That's your primary concern. I mean, 10 years ago, the wire services probably wasn't in the social game. So can you describe what it is you do and what role does social play in your business model?
So we are on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram the same way many of your news organizations probably are. But what's a little bit different is that we're not sending all of that traffic back to an owned and operated site. We're sending it to our partners and our clients. So we will find a story written by AFP that's being hosted on one of your sites and send social traffic to you that way. And to a variety of clients across the board, depending on, we know this client likes to display the pictures in a gallery. We really want to feature this gallery, so we'll send the social traffic to you there. Maybe this client is still a text-based client, and we really want to just focus on the article in this case. We do a little bit of on-platform sharing of native content, but that's, again, really a marketing tool so that you can know who we are. You can kind of get that awareness of all the points where AFP is located, because I think many people maybe are like, oh, well, you're in France. But no, we're a global news agency, and we provide news in 6 languages. So that gives people a lot of options. And we're also, moving into the live video space. So just as Katrina was describing, we have a platform where you can see 4 different live streams coming in. You can use them in different ways based on your content needs. So
when you're public-facing, you might be in competition with your customers as well, which is us. So how do you handle that, Malcolm? How do you handle, are you going to social out a CP story from a CP website, or how would you handle that?
Yeah, we do not have a public-facing website in that respect. So if we are, as you just described, tweeting out or putting a link on Facebook, it's always going to go to a client site. So it's just not part of our business model to have a public-facing presence in that respect. Which is not to say we wouldn't use a lot of the same social tools to be able to gather information. Of course, that makes 100% sense. But I think our customers would probably scream loudly if we were out there competing for audience and advertising dollars.
So the battle over what is fake, and a lot of our conferences is focused on truth and the disruption of truth in our industry as well. So when you guys are producing content and supplying us with the actual content, how are you ensuring that it is truthful? Malcolm, did you want to start?
Well, first of all, I mean, I think, and this is true, I think, of most of the, I think probably all of the agencies who are sitting up here. We do have high standards for the work that we do. We, all of our ethics and standards are published, and I think, as you've sort of alluded to, there is a demand right now for understanding the authenticity of news and the validation of that news. CP, and I know there are probably others in this room and at this conference, are part of the Trust Project, which has been launched. And that is going to also help further, I think, amplify and give credence to quality, trustworthy sources of news. And CP will be, we've entered into that project, and I will be partnering with other agencies who are also going to be part of the same project. And it will allow online, I think, for users to be able to see that this information has come from trusted sources. You'll know more about the writers, you'll know more about the news organization, and the kind of work that it does and the standards that it applies to the journalism that it creates every day. And I think right now there's, as you've alluded to, I mean, there's I think a flight and a need to have trusted, validated sources out there, and we need to find a way amongst all the noise that exists for those, if you like, those markers against trusted sources to be very, very visible to the public.
Katrina, same question.
Yeah, sure. Well, at Reuters, we established our trust principles in 1941, so during Second World War. And that's really governed our reporting and our journalism. So it means that our reporting has to be free from bias, it has to have integrity, and it has to be independent. And so nothing has really changed at all at Reuters in how we've reported and how we're going to report. And even though there's a lot of fake news and there's mistrust in the media, we will continue to do the reporting that we've always done. But yeah, for Reuters, really what we are is a fact-based news agency. And we are impartial, we are objective, and we truly are reporting on the facts. We don't try to have we have no political leanings, we have no opinions, and that really distinguishes us and is something that is really in our DNA. And in terms of even just like sending out mobile alerts, for example, if there's a breaking news event, we sometimes wait and we don't actually publish out a breaking, an alert, because we have to validate that information with a primary source, so with police or with fire or with federal state. And there was an example in Hawaii in January, and there was the emergency agency sent out an alert to the citizens of Hawaii and was saying that there's a missile coming. And for about an hour, there was panic, and a lot of the media companies were sending out alerts to consumers, and Reuters did not, because we did our fact checking and we realized that it was actually sent out by a mistake by an employee. So that's the kind of reporting that we do. It's what we've done since the very beginning, and it's what we're going to continue to do.
Pierce, Getty's famous for amazing images. I think we actually have an image.
Before you cue that up, we have a rigid editorial standards with a zero tolerance policy, and our clients and getting to be consumers now trust us when they see the byline Getty images on a news picture or a sport picture or an entertainment picture. We've kind of built up the confidence, and we take that very seriously. How many people in the audience saw the golfers in front of the volcano in Hawaii photograph? Anyway, yep. This picture came in last week or 2 weeks ago, and immediately it was called into question on social media, saying this is fake, this is fake. But at the same time, right after that, other Twitter users started defending it. They said, look, this guy, he's Mario Tama. He's a photojournalist over many years, worked on many big stories. Someone like this wouldn't risk their career to fake a Gulf volcano picture. And the Twitter hive at that point almost self-corrected, and people started calling out people who were calling it out as fake. We've never seen anything like that. So we, at Getty, didn't need to really get involved in this and supply like the frame before and the frame after to prove to everyone that it was real. It corrected itself.
So the public did that, or did you guys jump into the conversation?
We didn't need to jump into it. And this is such an extreme example. We had a call, the editor next to me got a phone call from a registered nurse. He was sitting around with his fellow colleagues having lunch, and they had a bet over this. Some people thought it was fake, and somehow they got a number that got to my colleague, picked up the phone, and we're like, it's absolutely real. And he's like, okay, I just won the bet, thanks. Like, it's like, wow, old school. But immediately it was called into question, and it's, yeah.
So, Marisha, more and more we're finding UGC, user-generated content, filtering its way into our newscasts, online, goes viral, to use that word kind of loosely. And I think as news organization or as wire service organizations, you guys are looking at that more and more. So how do you go through the process of getting it, verifying it, and then giving it to your clients?
So we have a pretty strict process by which we are going to make sure that we have the rights to that image or that video. Of course, we're going to contact people on social media, direct message them, try to have a conversation with them, because that can also enhance our reporting of an event. But we're asking them, did you take this picture or this video? Can we have your permission to distribute it to our clients? Once we've received that permission, then we're going to distribute it to all of you. And our teams are using a tool which I wanted to share with you today, and then there's an image. And what's really cool about this is it's completely free, so you can take it back to your newsroom and try it out. It's for video verification. This is something that was developed by the AFP Media Lab, but with some funding from the European Union. It's open source, and we kind of call it like the Swiss Army knife for video verification, because you can do keyframe extraction, you can reverse image search, you can magnify things, you can pull the metadata, and it's going to give you a lot of tools to help you verify video you're finding on social. And we hope you'll try it out, give us some feedback, let us know what you think of it.
Great. Speaking of products, AI is more and more entering into our business, and we have to, of course, be careful in some ways, but it does help us in others. Malcolm, you guys have an interesting product on the video editing side. Can you explain that?
There are a couple of new ones, actually. Yeah, one is on the video side, and I think probably some of you are using these in your newsrooms now, where where you're using products like Wibbits to be able to take really the rich sort of trove of content that a CP journalist provides every day, which is photography, videos, audio, could be the text. And it's effectively using this sort of semi-automation tool to be able to create online videos incredibly quickly. So there is a video there of Harry and Meghan. You don't necessarily have to put it up. But all of those things now allow us to create a lot of these new products very, very quickly. It's all based on the same idea that we can use the content in as many ways as possible and in many different formats as possible. So a lot of this comes from the existing content, but we now take it in and produce another product around it. Similarly, we have, on the basis of this conversation around, artificial intelligence and automation, we've created a tool that essentially takes structured data for the Canadian junior hockey leagues. This is a tool that was developed by one of our in-newsroom journalists. Created this, it now effectively automates the creation of junior hockey stories, and there's an example of one. Well, that's a bit of an eye chart, so good luck reading that one. But if you could read that, what you would see are stories that are automated. There's no human involvement in terms of the creation of this story, but the journalist has created the templates and the scripts and takes the data, and it automatically generates those stories. It saves an immense amount of time every night, And on any, you can imagine on a Saturday night when you might have 25 or 28 games of this nature, that's a lot of time saved. And what it's doing is it's allowing us to, make sure our journalists are able to focus on more high-value kinds of content, high-value journalism. And we're doing the same thing around, business earnings reports. And these are all things that are the kind of the staples of news services in many respects. They're very time-consuming, but what this allows you to do is to use effectively what we might call robotic journalism, but it allows us to, get this kind of information out quickly and at scale and at a level that we would never have been able to produce if we were just doing this as, humans in the newsroom. But there's a level of, accuracy to it which is astonishing. It's the way that these scripts are written. And it frees us, as I say, I think in a time when we need every one of our, human journalists really focused on high-value content, this gives us the ability to be able to deploy them in that manner.
Katrina?
Yeah, sure. So we started doing AI over 10 years ago and really on the financial and economic releases that we do. So we have computers that will generate suggested snaps, and all the reporter has to do is actually review it and then hit send. And it actually translates into 17 other languages. So that ensures that all clients around the world are being sent the right data, and the reporters don't frantically need to put in the right information, translate it, and then hit send. So we've had automation on that front for around a decade now. And then a couple months ago, we released Links Insight, and that's kind of our take in terms of similar to what you're saying. So that was a couple months ago, and at Reuters, we don't really feel that machines and humans, either one is second tier. We really see that you can marry the strengths of both. So what Links Insight really does is it takes the strengths of machines, which is being able to sift through large amounts of data extremely quickly, and it takes human expertise, judgment, the ability to ask really good questions and put stories within context, and it takes the strengths of both and it puts it together. So Links Insight is a platform, and it's automated data sifting very quickly. The algorithms are programmed by the journalists, and what it does is the machines actually look for key trends, they look for anomalies, and they suggest stories that the reporters and the journalists can then take and decide if they want to actually develop and expand that story. So yeah, we really feel that it's marrying the strengths of both really nicely.
Yeah, we're starting to get into this at Getty and have been for a good couple of years now. The main thing we're doing is obviously Getty Images. It's a stock photo site, editorial site, and it's the main AI initiatives that we're doing is getting people the right pictures faster, helping people with image search, whether it's for a news story or whether it's for an ad campaign, getting them what they need quicker. We actually have a whole presentation tomorrow by someone on that team here in the morning. Another aspect is facial recognition. It's and also geographic information. It's a picture editor's dream, actually, and never have another mis-ID or mislocation again in a picture. So we're working in that space as well to develop a tool for that.
Marisha?
Well, you've also given really great examples. I think for us, it's really how can we make sure that the journalists are freed up to do those higher level tasks like you're talking about, and to be able to get you the content creation that you need. So we'll have, all the things, all the different pieces of content around one event tagged to a single number, so that when you search, I want the White House today, you're going to get the text, the photo, the video, and it's all going to be like with one button. So you're not like, wait, I need to search for the video and the photo. We want it to be under one single number where you can find it very easily.
Great. So I want to get into the editorial side a little bit. Malcolm, on your website, it says storytelling is our DNA. So has storytelling changed, covering events as opposed to creating original content, investigative? Where is Canadian press? How is it? Is it evolved? Is it still the same?
It's interesting. I mean, I think we still cover what I will call the general news of the day, and I think there's a high demand from our clients still to this day to do that. And a big part of that is, of course, it's a reflection of the resourcing levels in their own newsrooms, that if they know an organization like CP is going to be there, that may mean that they don't have to worry about that. They can focus on something else of unique value to them. So I think a lot of that news is still very much, provided and covered by us, and I think at a high standard. That said, I think sort of alongside that, there's also demand for more enterprise reporting. There's seemingly less of it going on across our country because of the cutbacks in the various newsrooms, and this is a sad story for so many of us, of course. So I think there's also a request for more of that kind of unique content. So I think we certainly feel there's a place for more enterprise reporting within the business. We have one of the great leaders in terms of in this country in our sector when it comes to access to information. CP does a ton of access to information requests. We continue to do this on a regular basis to surface, news that might not otherwise be coming through the system. And that rich funnel of news that used to be, in our lives, 10, 20, 30 years ago is not so rich any longer. So I think we see ourselves as very much contributing to that as we go forward. And then I just think a CP reporter has to cover stories using multiple types of assets. So we expect our reporters to file audio, to file video, sometimes even the photography. So the expectations on them, I think, and the demands on them have obviously increased, but that is also in line with what people now expect of the service and what they're paying for.
Yeah, I just want to play off that a little bit. Katrina, the demand for multi-platform journalism, not just from your clients, but also the pressure that you would have to put on your staff. Yep. So how has Reuters broken down those silos? Because those silos used to be, you're going to write, you're going to take an image, you're going to shoot video, and you're the presenter of the actual news. So how has Reuters changed?
So in the past couple of years, we've really had a global mandate for multimedia skills. And when I connected with our global head of multimedia, she said that around 83% now of our editorial staff is trained in a second skill. And she said by Friday, when you speak, it's probably going to be 85. So it's probably around 85 now that are trained in a second skill. So that means that our text journalists, they have been trained how to shoot a picture or shoot an image, shoot video, and then, for example, a photographer would need to learn how to shoot video and vice versa. And we decided to do this not by hiring experts, by actually doing it peer-to-peer. So we would, put each person in connection, and they would learn from each other, and we really felt that this would facilitate a more collaborative environment, and it certainly worked in that way, and it's been really powerful. And an example of that, actually, in terms of really pushing for multimedia skills, when the Barcelona attack happened last year, we were actually 30 minutes before even local broadcasters, because it was actually a text journalist who was there, and because he had been trained in how to shoot live video, he was able to be right on the ground, start shooting, and then we were able to send in our satellite truck and within 30 minutes, get up the proper feed. But we were there on the ground, and it's because we have that huge push internally that we were able to start live shooting right away. So it's been very advantageous, and to get that content to our clients so that they can then use it digitally on social, in broadcast much quicker. It's certainly been win-win. And then on the flip side with our clients, what we're seeing is that before, clients who used to use one type of content, as they've been added to our new platform, Reuters Connect, we're actually finding that they're using, or 75% of our clients are using more than one type of content or more than one type of media. So we're certainly seeing it internally, and we're seeing it as well with our clients as well.
Pierce, how has the newsroom changed in your
similar answer. We're asking our photographers to do more. Frankly. Their cameras shoot video. We ask them to do video. They all file B-roll from their assignments on, I'd say, 70% of their assignments. 360s. All of our photographers have an additional 360 camera that we use now and again. Mainly 360 stills, tiny bit of 360 video. And also, we're training a few of our photographers to be drone pilots. It's just another tool for them to be equipped with. In addition to that, we also ask of them to be semi-active on social media, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, to put work out that way in real time.
And Marisha, you're asking your journalists to also do some extra work,
Yeah,
public-facing, to help build up the reputation. So can you get into that a little bit?
I think that we were really a pioneer in this idea of multimedia thinking, and that we wanted to make our online news product really rich content. So we didn't want to just have a text product that you could add a picture to. We've always been trying to think, how can we get photo and video and graphics all involved in creating this online news product? And, social media is still like largely the role of just a few people in the newsroom, but certainly journalists love to see their byline. And so there is like a personal reason for many people to go out and share their work on client sites too. So, it's all creating extra value for the client because they have multiple people within the agency sending social traffic their way.
And they're also writing blogs? You have them writing blogs as well?
It's true. We obviously have always taken fact-checking as an important part of our job, but we've started with the French election a collaborative effort with other newsrooms in France to really try to counter this misinformation problem that was going on. And so they started a blog that is really focused on these fact checks, and we're going to be expanding it to other countries, including Canada, so stay tuned. Some of that content goes on our wire and is available for clients to use, and some of it is just really that we're trying to contribute in a positive way to countering some of this misinformation.
Thank you. Just before we get to questions, I have one final question for all of you. Based on what I've heard today, there's quite a lot of innovation and changes happening in your industry, and so the term wire services, it seems quite outdated. What should we call you?
Well, I think we are in a community of news agencies. That's how we refer to ourselves, I think, unless you guys have got some crazy new name. That's
what you're hoping for, a crazy new name.
And I think it reflects the fact that we deliver news on multiple platforms. That's the case of all of us here. The wire was a means of distribution at a certain time and still is, and for some clients actually still works very effectively. But it's, I don't think it I don't think it really reflects what we're really all about, which is the creation of news.
Anybody else? Any suggestions?
I mean, I know that Reuters, we aspire to be, I'd say, the most trusted multimedia news agency or news ingredient provider that you can leverage in your own programming and finished products.
At Getty, we consider ourselves a digital media company that has a wire service aspect. And you gave us this question in advance, thank you, so I had some time to think about it. What wire services, it's about the speed and the breadth of coverage. And we still do that, but we do that under the umbrella of a larger digital media company.
I took it around my newsroom and sort of asked people, what do you think I should say? And everyone was just said, say we're still essential. I think
it's
that
an essential service, okay?
But I do think that we can provide you with access points that you wouldn't otherwise be able to get with the resources that you have for your newsroom. The humans you have on the ground. We can just be an extra set of tools available to you.
Great, thank you. Okay, questions. There must be some questions. Any questions at all? Do you guys have any questions for each other? I've asked enough questions. Yep, just a sec.
Oh, the cube, right. Oh, jeez. Good throw.
I don't know if it's the air conditioning in here or a little bit of what you guys were talking about earlier. I feel a little bit chilled. It concerns me a little bit as a human that, we're having programs, computer programs, write articles for us, even if it's, what happened in the local hockey game. And also, it's a little minority report of the whole face recognition and figuring out who's who. It feels a little bit to me like it's kind of a scary world to start to dip a toe into, the whole AI and how much we're going to rely on that in our profession, and how much we're going to give away to that, because things can get skewed, things can get, programmed a certain way, to be read a certain way, to be written a certain way, to be framed a certain way, and that's going to impact our audience and the information they get and how they process it. So I'm just wondering how we can guard against, how we can utilize some of these amazing new technologies that we have at our disposal as a profession, but also how we can not lose our soul to them.
Who wants to take it?
Well, first of all, I think the examples that we've talked about are actually involving data, structured data, that actually, I think complement the work that a human journalist does. I don't see, certainly in our business, that like the algorithms and whatnot, are going to replace what I would call creative analytical journalism. I just don't see that playing out. Maybe others might disagree, but I don't really see that changing. And I should point out that the products that we just created have been created by journalists. It's the journalists who actually created the tool, actually created the journalist, if I can call it, the written templates that actually then have the output on the other side, right? And it still goes through an editor. So it's not like there's some kind of divorce between the human being and the output on the other side. But I just think I think in fact what it really does is it helps the reporters in many respects do their work more efficiently, and gives you an opportunity to actually allow them to focus on what I might call that content versus journalism. So those little stories, that's content. Something that effectively a machine can help you create simply, speedily, and at scale in a way that maybe we couldn't do as quickly as before, giving them the time to actually focus on what I would call real reporting, real journalism. I don't know if that helps, break it down a little bit more.
Pierce, facial recognition.
I mean, I
minority
feel, I think the cat's out of the bag with facial recognition as far as government surveillance and security. I mean, it exists, it's there, it's pretty powerful. I think businesses will use that. And I think, to Malcolm's point, I think if you can take some of that kind of manual work of an editor, in this case a picture editor, going through an ID, checking everyone away, it gives them more time to focus on something more meant for that a human could do better. Like, is this picture real? Do we need to investigate this? Do we need to call the photographer and get the backstory, look at other frames, like that type of thing?
Mm-hmm. So and I think just for us, I mean, back to what I was saying earlier with Link's Insight, I mean, the machines will generate ideas for stories to be written, but our stories are always written by human beings and by our human journalists. So I would say the editorial team at Reuters certainly experiences what you're saying. I would tend to agree.
I don't think there's any reason not to have worry or mistrust. I mean, we should be skeptical. We're journalists, right? But the engineers that we talk to about it like to say the computer will be as smart as you spend the time to teach it to be smart. So if we allow journalists the time to work with the AI, hopefully what we get on the other end will be journalism or content that mirrors journalism.
Any other questions? Elton?
My question is more for Marisha and Katrina. We rely on you guys so much for a lot of our live video coverage for digital, but often it's presented as this kind of like a la carte, like here's what we will be covering today. And I understand now with the new Reuters Connect, there's quite a lot of options about what we can take. What's the editorial process for that like? How do you arrive at your coverage decisions? And is that based on client demands, or is there other factors that come into that?
Sure. Did you want to go first? Or? Sorry, who are you here with? Just out of curiosity. Okay, cool. Yeah, so traditionally we have, for broadcasters, we've had our single satellite feed, and that's based, our London Lives Desk team will really determine what is being outputted at any single given time. So when you're on it's kind of our basic lives package, you are at the mercy, I guess, of that London Lives team determining what is going to be outputted on the single satellite feed. But last October, we launched the ability to now use up to 6 live events. So we've opened up an Asia bureau, and now we're shooting up to 700 live feeds every single month. So when you actually get access to the premium lives, you can now choose between any of our live coverage all around the world. But if you are on the single satellite feed, then you are getting the single feed from London, and they do take into consideration what clients want from around the world. But since it is clients around the world, and we truly are a global news agency, we have to think of what is going to be most pertinent globally. And so that's why the ability to have up to 6 live events at any time that you can stream really gives clients so much optionality that they don't even, they can really decide if they want to, have one program on a press conference and then want to have something completely different on social, something completely different on their website. So it's really in your hands now with the new live service.
If I understood your question, you were asking maybe more about like what, the editorial planning and how we decide what will be on the calendar. Yes. Some of that is, of course, resource dependent, right? Because where do we have teams? How quickly can we get them there? Do they have the right equipment to go live? But increasingly, we're trying to make sure that when we deploy a team, they are live video equipped, so that they will be able to bring, wherever they're going to be, they'll be able to bring you that live video. This is, we have 4 events that you can access concurrently in our new platform. So you'll be able to choose between 4 different live streams. And we have, the master control room in Europe and in Hong Kong, so you should have, feeds coming in throughout the day.
Any other questions? Well, I want to thank our panel very much for this engaging discussion and informative discussion as well. And I think we're going to call it next year the future of essential news service as opposed to wire services. So ENS, that's the new word for that. Again, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Quick programming note, we have our AGM in the next room there coming up right away. I think we're running late, right? A little bit, no, sorry. And then to those who aren't going to be going to the AGM, but hopefully everybody can go to the AGM because we need as much participation as possible. And then at 5 o'clock in this room, in conversation with Lara Satrakian from newsdeeply.com. She's been quite outspoken in the Me Too movement, so it's about changing newsroom cultures. It's going to be a very interesting discussion. That's at 5 o'clock until about 6:30-ish, and then we transition back to the other room for the President's reception and awards, and of course, drinks and some food. So thank you again very much, and hope to see you at the rest of today's events. Thank you. Thank you. That was good. Thanks. Thank you. Thank you. It worked out very well. An articulate crowd.
It's so good to meet you too. Thanks so much.
Cheers. Thank you. That's great. Hey, George. Cuba do. Oh, thanks.